Did humans live with dinosaurs? Part 2. How old are the fossils? Aren't all of the fossils proven to be very old? Well, let's look at how the ages of fossils are measured. Fossil age is simply determined by the age of the layer of the rock or the strata that it is found in. So, how is the age of the layer or the strata determined? Well, it's determined by the age of the fossils that are found in the rock. But aren't the ages of the rocks determined by the age of the fossils? Well, that's correct. And so it keeps on going around in a circle. This is known as circular reasoning. There is simply no accurate way to measure any fossil. Unless it has carbon-14 in it, then it is much younger than the millions of years that we've been told. So this means that no one could tell us how old any fossil is. Now, rocks have been measured to be hundreds of thousands of years old, up to billions of years old. And they are discovered to be just literally hundreds of years old instead, and in some cases thousands. So the measurements of rocks, and this has to be igneous rocks, it can't be the sedimentary rocks that fossils are found in. When they are measured, they use different kinds of measurements, actually different kinds of ways to measure the rocks. And contrary to what we were told in school of the extreme accuracy of these types of measurements, now we've discovered just the opposite. The methods used to measure these rocks have been shown to be horrendously inaccurate by literally millions of percent. Well, was there a flood? Now, if we look at the geological column, it would appear that a huge flood would explain the mix-up of the layers and the mixing of the fossils throughout the different layers much better than the slow process of evolution. A flood would leave a general order of heavier and less mobile creatures being on the lower layers, along with the sea creatures, and with lighter and more mobile creatures higher up. Now, there are enormous amounts of evidence to support the idea that there was a worldwide flood in the past. The best piece of evidence to support this idea is the vast amount of marine fossils that are found in every continent in the world and in the very highest mountain ranges in the world. So there are thousands, millions of marine fossils found literally miles high in these highest mountain ranges. The idea of a worldwide flood was well accepted until just a few decades ago, which, by the way, correspond to the same time that evolution was, when it began to be accepted. It appears that the evidence is causing a huge resurgence of this idea. But because of the nature of a gigantic flood, mixture would be somewhat common. And that is indeed the case. The mixture, that is the fossils being in the wrong order, is very common. In fact, some of the layers are completely reversed. So you have the layers that are out of order, you have the fossils that are out of order. By the way, just this by itself completely disproves any evolution. Well, it now appears that the belief in a worldwide flood is backed up by science much better than we have been told for many decades, and that the Earth is much younger than we have been told. So in our textbooks, we are told of all of the evidence that there is, that these fossils are supposedly so many millions of years old, and that there was evolution, but we are not told of the overwhelming evidence of a worldwide flood. So if this is the case, then it would make sense that the dinosaurs and humans have lived together up until just recently, or maybe they still do in some cases. So rather than humans living with dinosaurs in ages past, is it possible that dinosaurs have lived with us in the very recent history? Well, let's take a look. If we take a look at history, we will discover numerous accounts of man dealing with dragons. Today, these creatures are called dinosaurs. Both simply refer to large reptiles or terrible lizards. If we go back into historical accounts, such as the book of Job in the Old Testament, there is a perfect description of a brontosaurus-like creature. Accounts of knights killing dragons and very large beasts are not uncommon in the Middle Ages. There are even some pictures of these encounters drawn by artists. These artists' renditions of these beasts look like dinosaurs that have been discovered recently. So the question arises, why have the dinosaurs appeared if or disappeared if they have lived with humans up until the last few hundred years? Well, the answer is twofold. Number one, as previously mentioned, humans have killed many of them. But number two, lungs of these creatures are generally very small. It has been shown by science that the atmospheric pressure was considerably higher in the past, but also the concentration of oxygen was also greater. So, as this changed to the atmosphere that we have today, dinosaurs in general would have a much more difficult time getting the amount of air needed to live. Does this mean that there are no dinosaurs left alive on Earth today? Well, we will look at that at the next part of this series in the actually in the very next video.